He's a fan of Dr. Spock, but can give a detailed assessment, probably of Mr. Spock, too. He's a fan of Mr. Spock and also can give you his March Madness bracket picks off the top of his head. Collector of Spider-Man comics, but he's planning a game of White House basketball with the NBA MVP, his pal. Our number one story, Barack Obama, first nerd or jock-in-chief. The man who declared Mr. Obama the first nerd president of the modern era joins us in a moment. But first, at the 65th Annual Radio and TV Correspondents' Dinner in Washington, the president delivering a strong follow-up act to his last comedic turn at last month's White House Correspondents' Dinner. And after thanking the president for warming up the crowd, humorist John Hodgman took the stage with a 14-minute thesis arguing for presidential nerddom, delivering a deposition via slideshow honoring the president's nerd heritage. As a child, Mr. Obama was an avid reader of Conan the Barbarian. He is quick with his Star Trek references, and he can name the father of Superman, and that's Jor-El, if you've forgotten. Hodgman noting that after 8 years of a jock administration, the nerds are enjoying something of a revenge.
It is an exciting time to be a nerd. There is talk in some states of even decriminalizing evolution. At this very moment, the fate of Iran is strangely entwined with the sleep schedules of the geeks who maintain the servers at Twitter and YouTube.
But then there is some evidence to the contrary.
Despite his Spockish, calm, and gangly frame. The president is known to dabble in sports. And not just bowling, but the hard stuff, what they call basketball.
What they call basketball, coming soon to a White House near you. Bloomberg News now reporting the South Lawn tennis court is going to become a basketball court. Mr. Obama's first pick for the presidential pickup game. Oh, yeah, Cleveland Cavaliers forward LeBron James. Joining us now, the keynote speaker at the Radio and Television Correspondents Association dinner, the writer and humorist, John Hodgman. His book, More Information Than You Require, comes out in paperback this fall. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
A pleasure to have you. But this is confusing. I mean, this is a president who is fluent in Vulcan and yet can call up LeBron James and say, how'd you like to christen this court?
I hadn't heard that news. He's not exactly calling me over to screen Battlestar Galactica with him this week. He's obviously making up for something, I think.
Is he a nerdy jock or a jockey nerd?
I think he crosses the streams, to drop a Ghostbusters reference, which is something that's enjoyed by jocks and nerds alike, I think. So, and I think that he has elements of both. I mean, what I was trying to say was that it's not just loving basketball or baseball or whatever the other sports are that you enjoy. It's not just loving nerdy math and science and everything else, but it's a philosophy of certainty and a philosophy of questioning. And you need to have both, I think, in order to govern effectively. And it's okay with me if he wants to play basketball with LeBron James. You know, I don't insist on ideological rigidity. You know, I just want effective government. I think you need both.
Well, I'm just wondering, is it appropriate for LeBron James because he appears in a commercial? I mean, it would seem to me that they wouldn't let you into the...
it's all. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Forget what I'm saying about that.
Yes, you know me though. I loathe advertising.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say, in my own, I would never appear to. Oh, I did. Is there sort of a built-in bipartisanship to an equation in which you have both of these aspects of personality, sports and thinking type stuff?
Well, you know, I said that the Bush administration was a jockish administration, and I didn't say it maliciously. I mean, I just think that they proceeded at all time from certainty. They went with gut instincts over complexity. They didn't like bookish rumination. And they were run by a cheerleader. Do you know? I mean, I think it's just the facts on the table. As a geek, I have to acknowledge what the reality, objective reality is, and that's what it was. And a lot of good decisions are made from the gut. A lot of bad decisions have been justified by science and the impersonality of science. So I do think that you need both to navigate difficult waters.
Can a jock administration really be led by a cheerleader? Isn't that by itself something of a refutation of the jock theory that the cheerleaders wind up in charge?
I'm not talking about, when I say jocks, I'm not talking about actual athletes.
Right.
I mean, athletes have incredible skills. And they're well paid for them, and they're not concerned with this little ideological battle.
Right.
You know, jocks, I think jockishness is a sort of being adjacent to athleticism. And, you know, you need a team that functions coherently and is run by authority top down in conformity in order to win games and fight wars. That's not what most adults do in the United States, however, I'm glad to say right now. And the reality is the revolution's already over because you see in Iran, all those kids are engaging with technology every second of the day. They don't know who Doctor Who is, but they are essentially democratizing the Middle East through nerddom in the sense that they're engaging with an idea from the ground up and spreading it through technology.
You mentioned that this is the first modern, possibly the first modern nerd president.
Right.
Are there historical nerd
Teddy
presidents?
Roosevelt was a big nerd.
Oh, and not a jock?
He was a little. He was
With
a little
those point-to-point marches.
What he was a
eating frogs for lunch or whatever he did.
I know, but he started as a frail, bookish, asthmatic,
absolutely,
taxidermy nerd as a child, and he willed himself into jockdom
through weightlifting.
Yes,
right?
Exactly so. The strenuous life. He was kind of a self-hating nerd. But that's why we have such an ambivalent relationship, we nerds. But the reality is we don't want just a nerd, I don't think, or a geek president. I think we want someone who can do both.
Is there, all right, you made a distinction of this. What is the difference between, I've been called nerd, geek, and dork, and several other synonyms throughout my years.
And you're a very sporty fella.
Well, I was anyway.
Yeah.
So at least I was a cheerleader, so to speak. But what are there actual definitional differences here between just those first two, geek and nerd?
I think taxonomy nerds would draw a big flowchart of the different kinds of jocks there are and the different kinds of nerds there are. But I think it basically has to do with conformity versus sort of individualism, between authority versus sort of subversion, certainty versus questioning. And I don't say any of those things maliciously. They all work together if you can fuse them together somehow.
That's because within the great tradition of both fields, you have to leave some room for them not to come over and hit you.
Exactly so.
Yes,
and I see a future where we go forward these two great opposing armies as a kind of human-Cylon hybrid into a world where most people know what human-Cylon hybrid means, and in which I will even have to grit my teeth and say, it's a new baseball game.
I'll call Dr. Spock and ask. John Hodgman of The Daily Show and of the Radio TV Correspondents' Dinner. Great, thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you very much, Keith. I appreciate what you do.
That's countdown for this, the 2,244th day since the previous president declared, hey, mission accomplished in Iraq. I'm Keith Olbermann. Good night and good luck.